Welcome to Innovative Strategies with Bill Haase. Innovative Strategy is a show designed to help people with their business and personal financial literacy, but not in the way that you have known. This is not your grandpa's financial literacy, as Bill uses his 30 plus years in the financial industry to stretch your financial box from, let's say about a 30,000-foot view of things. Bill and his guests have helped hundreds of clients achieve and surpass their financial goals. If you have any questions, please email Bill at Haase, that's Bill at BillHaase.com, or reach out to him right here at 216thenet@gmail.com. I always just like that music, Bill, and just let it go. Welcome in. Of course, today, LatinX, we've got the whole crew. Good stuff.
We do. Happy Cinco de Mayo, and that's kind of we wanted to mix in the Latinx with this Cinco de Mayo day, and for those of you who are regulars and listening into the show and get to watch, you'll recognize our guests and my partner Deb Dietz, and the head of Futures Television, Ram Gayoso.
That
goes well. Yeah. I wanted to bring him back. We have this conference going on here in about 3 weeks. And so it's getting down to the nitty gritty, right? And this is a big deal. And Deb has been working her little tail off every day, and Ram as well, and helping get this organized and learning little things like how people can procrastinate.
Now, they can, but let's really throw the big thing out there. As the introduction says, you three especially have helped hundreds, maybe thousands of people hit their financial goals. This is a absolutely no cost to attend.
Correct.
And you're taking it to how many countries?
6 countries.
6 countries.
6 countries in 3 different languages.
So
over 4 days.
Yeah.
It's wow. And we're teaching financial literacy and entrepreneurial skills.
Wow.
But I wanted, these two have been working so hard on this, so I really want to turn this over to them and allow them to inform our audience just what this is all about, because this is much bigger than one can imagine. So Deb, Ram, please tell us, what's changed since the last time you were on the show about a month ago. I know we have the speakers and we've got job fairs. There's all kinds of things going on. Who wants to shout out first? Nobody. Deb, I think you're unmuted again.
Here, let's try this.
Oh
yeah, you have to unmute. You muted yourself. I can't do it. So somebody else talk about it.
I thought I had all the right buttons switched. Anyhow, I apologize. But yeah, Ram and I have been burning the midnight oil for quite some time now. But we're really, really excited because we've pretty much locked down our agenda, and the program's coming together. People are registering, and sure, we are focused certainly in the Latin speaking parts of the world, but we're also seeing attendees and registrations coming from all over the world. And so, you would expect registrations coming from Mexico and Colombia and Spain and Argentina and Portugal, but they're also coming from other parts, including Africa, Iran, the Caribbean, the UK, Canada. So it's really encouraging to see the level of interest, and we're just really excited and very grateful, quite frankly, for the contributors, those that have stepped up to share their expertise, not only from presenting on their topics during the 4 days, but also building their online courses. And so it's all coming together, and we couldn't be happier with how it's coming together.
And you've gotten some big sponsors now here.
Oh yeah, so a lot of our institutional partners came through. So we have the Edson Warren Internship and Innovation Institute out of ASU. It's one of the top ranking innovation programs in the country. And they're going to be talking a little bit about hubs, the importance of clusters and innovation. And then we have the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center, and they will be bringing their message. Then, of course, we have the Institute of Competitive Intelligence out of Frankfurt, who is going to talk about competitive intelligence and the startups. We have Startup, and we have NABO. So we have lots of partners, and they're coming together to deliver this message to the people who need it most.
And for those who are not aware of NABO, it is National Association of Women Business Owners, of which I do believe Miss Deb Dietz was the Woman of the Year in Chicago in 2019.
Well, thank you for the shout out. I appreciate that. I was member of the year actually, but we're really excited because we have the former president of NABO Chicago is one of our keynote speakers, and she is a Latina woman herself. So she is going to be speaking. Actually, she's also creating a course, but her remarks for her keynote are really going to be speaking about her experience as a Latina, an entrepreneur, someone she has started and is running a very successful translation services company. And she's her course is actually on leadership and leadership lessons. And so she's worked with a lot of women entrepreneurs, a lot of Latinas, and she's going to share that message from a leadership point of view.
Yeah, that's awesome, because leadership is such an important role. I'm having discussions with people this week recently that about situations they're in that are dealing with lack of leadership or poor leadership, and it can destroy an organization very quickly if you don't have the proper skill set. That is so important. And I do believe, is there a Miss Corzine speaking as well?
Exactly. Yes, she's the executive director of the NASDAQ Education Center. NASDAQ is actually bringing several roundtables, and one of them is with Deepak Chopra. So they brought lots of beautiful materials to share with people, and all of it is, of course, free of charge.
Yeah.
Deepak. So, just to point out for those of you who are unable to watch and only able to listen in, this is called VC LatinX 2023 conference. And if you are interested in attending at no cost to you and learning and hearing these speakers, you can Google VC LatinX 2023. It'll come right up, and click on there. You can register. Again, there's no cost to attend and to listen. I believe the first day on the 23rd is in Spanish, day 2 Portuguese, and day 3 and 4 are in English. So please feel free to join in on those days that you can understand what is being said. Because I'm not strong on Portuguese.
Yeah, we split the day. So we have the mornings in Spanish and the afternoon in Portuguese for the first 2 days. And then the last 2 days are all English, morning and afternoon. But the idea was to become more inclusive, and some people were just not comfortable speaking in English. So we said, well, that's not a problem. We'll take care of you. We'll make sure, we have the place ready, and the space will be offered to you. So, feel free to deliver a message. And we have actually a wonderful keynote speaker for Portuguese. She's actually won Shark Tank in 2018, and she has a social mission as well as a business mission. She works with large women, and she's a fashion designer. So in her view, she says large women have no place to go because there are no clothes made for them. So she makes clothes or in clothing and entire collections for larger women. And that was her entire business model. So we have people who actually have social missions in mind, but they are true business people. So it's wonderful to see those keynote speakers.
Yeah, I should point out also that the original purpose of this conference is to go into these countries and support the underprivileged people, minorities, women, LGBTQ, and rural folks. This is the original effort. It has grown from that.
So, just a quick question: why is that so important to you three?
It's interesting when we first started, in the work that we do on radio and TV, we have the ability to, share messages and provide education and transfer knowledge. And one of the things that we became very well aware of was the lack of funding opportunities that were made available to women and minorities. And so, that was kind of the starting point of all of this, was an understanding that, there's a disproportionate amount of funding that is really provided to women and minorities. And then we started, kind of digging into that a little bit, and then understanding that if people are in a double minority status, their opportunities for funding are even less. And so you take that, and then that kind of raised the next part of the conversation, which was, we have an ability now to provide access to knowledge, access to education and information because of the work that we do on radio, TV, digital online instruction. So, here's an opportunity maybe to reach some of these, these minority communities in either urban and rural areas, even in the countryside, if you will, and provide access. And so, we talk about this topic a lot, but then we kind of looked at each other and said, well, let's do something about it. And that's literally how the conference came to be.
Yeah, so I wanted to add something to that, and folks, often people say, well, what does the press do really? We just talk about stuff. You just talk the talk, but you don't walk the walk. And this is our walk at the walk, and I really wanted to thank, so people like you, Bill, and to 16 the Net. So what's the role of the press? We do things, right? So as a community, we got together and said, well, what are we going to do about this? We could, just talk about it. There's inequality, fine. We can talk about that, or we can do something about it. And this is our doing something about it. Let's get together. Let's bring folks. Let's take to the rest of the world what we do best, American ingenuity. And that's our best export product.
Absolutely.
I agree. We've had this conversation, the three of us, where, and we know there are many groups of people out there that love to get together and bitch and moan about all that's going on and try to solve all the problems of the world and everything, but that's all they do. And me personally, I have a group on Friday mornings I typically used to go to, and I'm like, you're not doing anything. And let's get together and let's start doing stuff. I know Ken's laughing over here because he knows the group.
I know the group.
Yeah, and then Deb and I had this kind of a calling, which we called it at first, but in our last conversation, Deb, it came down to we almost have an obligation.
You know what? I agree with that, and I'll tell you, it's really interesting when we started kind of planning this out and what this would actually look like. We thought about the fact that so many people who are in need of this information are in different parts of their entrepreneurial path, right? There are those that and they may be young people who may have just a general awareness or understanding. There are those that may be further down the path. Maybe they've already started their businesses and their needs, their education needs are different than others. And so when we all started planning for this, we thought we want to be able to serve as many people as we can, right? So they really moving forward with a servant's heart, if you will, and leveraging technology, leveraging the expertise of all these wonderful people who are being so generous with their giving of their knowledge and their time, quite frankly, because it's quite an undertaking. And so, we thought if we can make it, number one, affordable, so that became, okay, let's provide free access. And then after that, we thought, well, there are going to be people that maybe they just need a refresher. Maybe they have some business experience or business, education. Maybe they just need a refresher. We thought, okay, we can harness all this expertise, put it out there in our conference, and people can sit and listen to these experts talk on all these topics. There may be others that need more support. Maybe they want to learn the how-to, the implementation of these concepts, because, like you stated, it's great to hear this knowledge and hear this education, but you need to have the actual training, skills training to implement and execute. So that's how the online courses came into play. And so by putting all this together, people can have access to all these wonderful topics from all these brilliant people, and they can take from it what they need and what they want. And if they want to learn the how to implement, what they've heard as far as the presentations, then they can have access to the online training. So we're trying to put it out there and have people, take advantage of the information the way that it works best for them.
And that's, I mean, sitting here watching you guys, all the hours that the three of you have put into this and everything. And that's what I'm truly amazed at, is how the power of the speakers that, it's not your local chamber people. These are big hitters, right? That you just kind of go, wow. And this is, and you would think, hey man, for this weekend, and anything else like this, it's $5,000 just to get into the arena. If I wanted to be part of it, right? It's truly, if you want, donations, right? But I mean, it's truly amazing that just how it's I don't know if magnetic is the word, what you guys have done, and just how it's attracted so many powerful people that are going, wow, this is.
Well, here's how really big this attraction has grown. There are watch parties that'll be going on outside of these 6 countries, but now I think Ram and Deb can confidently say, we're already looking at EuroX, doing Europe, Asia Pacific X, South Africa X, and hitting the different parts of the world, because you can liken it to, look, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. Well, let's start bringing everybody up. That's
exactly. And there's expertise all over the world, right? So we're right now we're harnessing the expertise for LatinX. And when we keep expanding and going elsewhere in the world, we're going to be tapping into experts in other parts of the world and bringing their thought leadership and transferring their knowledge. So, and it's really interesting because, at least for me personally, because I'm working with the online courses and online training, and I'm starting to see the content's coming together, and we're building the courses. And so what I even personally and individually thought this was going to look like a month ago, 2 months ago, I'm sitting back and looking, because I'm seeing it and I'm working with the materials that our experts are providing. And I'm telling you, it's blowing me away with what they're sharing, their level of expertise, because I'm seeing it and watching it as we're putting all this training together. And so I'm even more excited than I was a month ago with what we're developing.
I'd like to share something with you guys, is that I think this has been a learning opportunity for me. So when we started getting several phone calls and people from all over the world asking us to bring the message, right? First I thought, no, sorry, no, we're so busy trying to get this thing done here, right? And then the calls increased, and I had some very interesting phone calls with people. And we don't remember, but here in the United States, although people like to talk down the country, there is a genuine effort by people to promote equality, to sincerely see other people succeed. And that's not necessarily true elsewhere. So those people were calling, both Deb and I, and saying, well, we would love to hear your message. Bring your message to us. When can you bring this here? And then we thought, we're so overwhelmed. But when we saw that the need, and we thought, this is what we do best. The United States is about entrepreneurship, and the United States is about equality and embracing people and bringing people together. So we thought, yes, we'll take essence, the essence of the U.S. and share.
Yeah, it's such a good point.
Yeah,
an incredibly good point. And Deb brought it up with the servant's heart. Steve Ramona will love that, hearing that, past guest. But here's also something very important. We outside of the U.S., others look at us in the U.S. as we can be overwhelming, pushy, putting our ideals onto others and whatnot. And the beauty of these conferences are that you're bringing in people that are amazing people in their own countries. They understand the cultures and the flow of things like business and leadership and financial skills and importance and values of these things, and they can bring it to their people. And as I understand it, as we go to each part of the world, that's the important value, bringing on people from those parts of the world to share with us their knowledge, experience, and to bring it forth for all the people within their culture
and
as
within
well,
their own language too. Then that's
in their
another
own language, right?
And it's interesting because when we first started talking about this, I remember saying because Elizabeth, who was our keynotes, her company's a translation services company, and so in my mind, I thought early on, well, this is an opportunity maybe to translate, into other languages. And then Ram, I was sharing that with Ram, and Ram's like, but to have them, the native language speakers, the experts in their native language is so much more compelling. And I thought, you know what, you're absolutely right. So that to me was like, I love that. And that makes me love what we're doing even more, that, they're going to, the folks who are going to participating will see people that look like them, right? They're going to look like them. And in this case, many, folks that are, Latin America, Latin speak, but in Portuguese, in Spanish, in their own native tongue. So it made it even more compelling.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And it's amazing how this has evolved, and in a very short period of time, right? It's only been what, 2.5 months?
It has been. And, it's really interesting too, because to me, again, the focus is Latin America and the Latin speaking countries. But the thing that I think surprised me, one of the greatest surprises that I've had personally, is that we have so many people attending outside of the Latin speaking countries, which number one is kind of interesting because a lot of our promotional efforts are geared towards Latin America, Latin speaking countries. But it also is this really great insight. I know we talk about data and analyzing data and insights for business planning. I kind of live that world in my day job. But what we're finding is that the interest and that there's a demand for this in other parts of the world, so that when we start thinking about where we're going next, it's like, okay, Latin America, this is what we're doing here in the next 3 weeks. But then what comes next? Where do we go next? And so we're looking at the insights. We're looking at the registration numbers, where people are registering from, and it's been a surprise to me, actually. So now we're having those discussions and letting the data kind of share, lead us down a path of, where people want us, where do they want us to go next?
And it's all over.
And it is.
It's all over the world. I know there's a strong interest from Angola and down in South Africa. I know there is in Europe as well, Canada.
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Asia Pacific. You get into the Manila and things, but it's all parts of the world, and it is amazing. Through and a lot of this, I know some of this comes about through advertising or discussions about it, like we've done here on this show, and you've done on your shows, Deb. Ram, you've done on your shows, IMCI Magazine. If you haven't seen that new publication that just came out, you want to take a look at that. Just look up IMCI Magazine and you'll find it. Check out the latest edition that came out. There's a really good article in there, if I remember correctly, on page 22. But
and there's another good one on page 13.
That's a little self-promotion in there, folks, for you. But it's a so there has been some, but the primary growth of this has been really word of mouth.
Exactly. Not just the word of mouth, but if you look at the caliber of our presenters, okay, and that's what I think it's really important, is because people tend to say, oh, business people only care about money. Yeah, people do care about money, but people do care about people. I have, the CEO of MetaEd. I have the CEO of SMB Digital Education. I have Max Lambright, who was CEO for 8 companies. Right. And if you wanted to, get time with these people, that would be utterly expensive. But they are giving out of their heart. They're giving their time to speak at the conference. None of the CEOs who appear at the conference are getting compensated. Well, even if we wanted to, it would be a very tall order. But
right.
People out of their hearts to share with people, and others acknowledge, where in the world could you hear from so many CEOs for free?
And what you're pointing out is something that I've found in the last, I'd say, let's go maybe a year and a half, is there is a whole world of people out there who like to serve with the heart, through the heart,
Yes.
right? And I've just met into that and gotten into that group, and it's amazing how many people there are and how amazing they are. And I'm like, where the heck have you been all my
Yeah.
life? I've been looking for you,
Yeah.
and I obviously was looking in all the wrong places. But there's, and it's worldwide. It's not just here in the U.S. It's worldwide that there are so many amazing people that are more than interested in giving back and providing others with opportunity. Because this is really, I mean, the people that we're trying to reach out to here are, everyone from the person who thinks they may want to be an entrepreneur to maybe the person who just needs to learn more about money to live a better life, to those who are currently entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, or whatever, but they may be stuck in their current situation, or they may not know what the next steps are. It's a whole.
So, how do you know if this is successful? What are you guys using as a measuring stick for success? Is it 5,000 people logged on? Is it 50,000 people logged on? Is it 3 people started a business and changed their life?
Well, in my perspective is one. If we can make a change in one person's life, this is already a success. And we've been collecting so many stories. So many people call us and say how this is changing their lives, how this motivated them, and I hate to preach to the choir, but there's very little financial education out there. And because all of you are coming to the conference and sharing this, we're getting phone calls and emails from people who are saying, well, I thought I had to pay for this. I did not know I could get this. So I think success for us is seeing transformation, seeing people who felt that they didn't have access to education or to skill building opportunities. Now they do, and that is what fills Deb and I's hearts when we talk about it. So wow, this is for a success. Is we made a difference. So we are doing this again. Our goal is to do something about it, not just talk about it.
Right.
And when we hear back from people who say, well, this made a change. I felt different. I accomplished something. That is what we call success.
It's interesting. I love that. So I'm going to, add on to that. It's interesting to me that some of the feedback that I get is that that they're excited about learning from real people who have real experience, and that, the people have been there, done that, that have, slogged through the good, the bad, the ugly, and they know what they're talking about. So, that to me, the real stories and the real stories of overcoming adversity and, finding your community, the people that can support you. And so you're not so isolated, because I hear that a lot. It's even a personal situation of mine where when I first started out, felt very isolated. And so now we're providing, and and one of the, which is an amazing measure to me, is the brand new Facebook community that we formed just at the beginning. We have 11,000 members. That has happened like from 0 to 11,000 people. It's like, okay, to me, that is a huge success, and it's something that we did because we wanted to have a place for people to come and gather and talk to each other and build it and have that support system in place. Yeah. They weren't so isolated, but now it's 11,000 people and it's growing every single day. So when I look at that, I go, okay, we're filling a need here somewhere. People they want to learn, certainly. They want to learn from people who really know what they're talking about. And I'm telling you, we've got the best of the best. The people who have years of experience in their field are giving of themselves to put it out there to the next generation, to those that want to learn from them. It's not a textbook. It's like real life business. And so, and that you take that and you add the community aspect to it, and then the online training community of it, then that's a very powerful combination. And to Bram's point, to me, and I share that because to me, if there is one person that says at the end of it all, if I get one email that says, wow, I really liked, Max's presentation, or I really liked Ram's, scenario planning presentation, or, Katarina's entrepreneurial blueprint. There's so much here to take advantage of. And that I feel that, if I hear from one person that said, I learned a lot, thank you, then I thought, okay.
But you bring up a good point, though. It's getting that community together, and even the Facebook page helping, and that support system down, because that's very important, because we understand that very few, if anybody, who starts their own business, chooses to be an entrepreneur, has any clue of how absolutely difficult that is going to be, and how tough it is. And there will be times where you will ask yourself, is this worth it? Why am I doing this again? I forgot, or this is too hard. I can't do this anymore. If you have that support system, you can get over these humps, because you run into these situations because maybe you run into a situation where you don't understand, or you don't know what's the right decision to make going forward. And this conference will provide you with the information and knowledge of decision making, and it provides you with the support. The support team, to some place to go to ask questions that, we don't pick and choose. We don't care what job or what business you build, what service, good, product, whatever, whether it's a competitor or not a competitor. We just want to see people be successful and enjoy their lives better, right? Make it happier for them. But it also creates around them, these folks. So for instance, in Latin America, one of the issues, and let's say South Africa is the same. One of the issues is there are just not enough businesses, so there aren't enough jobs. So if we can create more businesses and make them and help them become successful,
Right.
They'll create more jobs.
Exactly. And actually, that's a really good point, because one of our roundtables in the conference is Michael Podolny. Michael is the head of Theodora Africa, and he's doing a roundtable discussion with women that were sex trafficked. And he's providing, his organization is providing training on computer skills to help, prepare these women to be able to step into a role as a virtual assistant. So he's providing virtual assistant training because of that, because they need to be empowered. They need to have the ability to support themselves and their families. And so that, that's his contribution, but that's exactly, what, providing access to the information, but access to that group of community, building the community around that, so that these individuals are not so alone, and they have someone that they can work together, they can learn together, they can support each other. And I think that's very powerful.
And there's many different groups like that, and that's a very important one. I know Michael very well, and what he's doing is amazing, because without that, the chances of getting away from that type of situation are slim to none.
Right.
And in a very short time frame, from what I'm hearing, and what we've talked about. But so that's a great important thing to understand. There's just so many different aspects about what this conference brings to the table for so many different types of people.
Yeah, I actually wanted to add to this. So we have a very special presentation, Dr. Anna Graff, and she brings a very, very important point. She says some of us are entrepreneurs by choice because we wanted to, and some of us are entrepreneurs by necessity because we couldn't find a job, or maybe we are older and we're not ready to retire, but nobody will give us a job, or maybe for any other reason. So she tries to explain the difference, and we approach entrepreneurship differently. Someone because they want to, someone because they have to. So we have to understand this difference. It's very significant. And to those people who have to, right? So they actually don't want to. So they lack that necessary impetus, but they have to because they have no other way. And those people are in a more desperate situation.
Right.
And so we thought about them too. So let's think about people. Let's build community. And you know what? We don't know anything about accounting, but you do. Maybe I know social media marketing, you don't. So let's help each other. And that's the whole idea of the conference, is building communities. We are that gooey thing that connects people. So people who need something, we can introduce them to somebody else who could provide. And that doesn't necessarily involve money. It involves community
Yeah.
building and entrepreneurs helping each other.
I say I love that word. I love that term, the gooey thing. We're the gooey thing. It makes it stick and brings it all together.
Yeah, it's we're called the glue, and the glue has to be there. And I love that you bring that up. From there's some that want to be entrepreneurs, and others have to be. Because Deb and I have both heard stories of people in these types of countries and situations where they've had to become entrepreneurs, or young children. Yes. That have had to become. And I believe Deb's going to she's going to open up the conference, and I believe she'll share a story or two that she's heard, and I'm sure others will share stories as well. But that's a great point, because some people just out of pure necessity, and that's a tough way to have to go about it. When you don't have a choice.
Exactly.
So one thing that I think it's important for us to highlight is that when people talk about business, they think about companies. Companies are made out of people. And what is important about this conference is people sharing their journeys. How did you get here? What are you doing? Where do you plan to go? How are you going to get there? So when we hear other people's stories, that is the motivation that will help us overcome. And sometimes people deal with extreme obstacles, but because they could see, hey, you did it, so can I. Or you have people, like Deb or like you, who can come in and provide guidance and encouragement. And that has incredible power. And you don't know how much you're helping people.
That's right.
And the fact that there's people like us all over the world. There's a network out there, and of people who really are more than happy to share their knowledge, their experience, and helping others, follow their dreams or fulfill what they have to fulfill, depending upon which angle they're coming at it from. But and that's key, because one thing we do, I think, will come across is most people don't understand, when you start a business, you don't have to be everything. You can't be everything. None of us are taught all the different aspects of that. You can't be an accountant, a lawyer, a CEO, a COO, the financial person, the branding guy, the marketing guy, the sales guy. You can't do everything. You need the support of others. And that's something that's a lesson hard learned for many people, I think. I know you've had this experience. You and I have talked about this, Deb, in the past, and it's a lot of people talk about, work on your weaknesses, and because you already have your strengths, so you don't need to work on those. It's like, no, stick with your strengths, and in the areas you're weak, bring in people who are strong. And then let them do that work, and you stay with your strengths, because that's what's going to get you into that successful stage.
Well, you're right. You'll have a greater impact, right? If you arm yourself and surround yourself with people that are experts in their field, you're an expert in your field. But there's a lot to be said for that, and putting that team together around that you're working with on a regular basis, and you're all tapping into each other's, subject matter expertise. That's what I love about what the conference and the people that are the contributors here, because they are experts. And it's just so interesting now, and every time we move forward and do another conference, we're going to continue to meet great people, really smart people. And the thing that's really, I think, that I find very heartwarming is people's willingness and their generosity, because in many cases, a lot of people are building courses. This is not a trivial thing to be doing. It is work, it's effort, but the willingness to do it is what's in the spirit behind it, and the reason why they're doing it. And they're sharing with me why they're doing it, and it's to make a difference. It's to have a greater impact. It's to pay it forward. And for people who have been in their professions for a long time, the seasoned professionals, right? People have been doing their work for a long time. It's very meaningful for many of them to be able to share that with others, and just see a seed take root, and that's very, very meaningful to people as they get older, and then people start to think about the legacies that they're leaving behind. What am I leaving behind? At the end of the day, I'm going to hang up, take my shingle off the door and it'll be over. But what comes behind you? Did you give someone a leg up? Did you pay it forward? And I think for a lot of people that are in our conference, that are our contributors, they feel that, they believe that, and that's why they're doing it.
That typically comes from people who have been in their industry, in their positions, and for decades. Right. When we get closer towards the end of our careers, and we have all of this amazing knowledge and experience, and we want to share that, it's and not to monetize it, but to just to go out and share it. And I think that that's certainly where you and I are at, Deb. I know Ram's a lot younger than us, but so he but he still has that servant's heart.
I think it's important, and we also focus on the positive aspects, but there are other aspects that are important for us to mention as well. So we do talk about social issues. For example, we have experts from the National University of Cuyo in Argentina, and they talk about the pay gap between men and women. And then we started talking about that, and then we realized that, well, that's a problem in Argentina, in Bolivia, in Colombia, in Ecuador, in Brazil, in Mexico, and it's a problem everywhere, right? Yeah. But they're not going to talk about the statistics, right? Yes, there is a statistic that says there's a pay gap, but we're going to move the discussion into the practical things we can do. So what can we do in order to close that pay gap? 2 or 3 things that you and I could do in our daily life. So we don't have to wait for the president of the country to make an announcement. Things that you and I can do. When was the last time you visit a women entrepreneur store? When was the last time you shared her message on social media? When was the last time you promoted her business? So there's so very many things, or maybe they're small things, but if you and I do it, millions of people do it, pretty soon that pay gap will be closed. So we're not having a conference, and we're talking about some very serious issues here, but not having a conference just to talk about stuff for the sake of talking about, but rather to bring people together, people who have their hearts into service and into solution. So how can we move into solution space? Don't wait for the governments to do anything. What you and I can do to make the world a better place. And that's why I think we have so many people coming together, because we realize, yes, there's something you and I can do, even if it's one thing to one person. But if we all do it, pretty soon the world will be a better place.
That's it.
Yeah, great point. Great point. This is a big event, and I know the numbers change on a daily basis, right? I mean, when Kent was asking, how do you measure this and how big it is? And yes, there are numbers out there. We've 11,000 on the Facebook page and growing and whatnot, and registration numbers. Obviously, we see that. We'll probably never know the true numbers because we won't know the watch parties and the numbers of people at the watch parties. It could be 100, 300 people at one watch party. We know certain parts of the world. Angola, I believe, is doing a big one, right? And they're busing in kids from the high schools and surrounding the university there, and that's going on in other places. But so the impact is there; it's real. We don't know the full impact, but we know it's strong enough that we have interest in other parts of the world that want to have this same conference go on. Right? So they're already reaching out and saying, "Let's go."
So during it, you're going to be like, hey, that watch party, post something out on Facebook, right? Show everybody there to build excitement. And I mean, so for those of us who can't or aren't going to be part of it, we can follow on the Facebook app, right? And we would see hey, here's the Angola watch party, and we'll see all these wonderful people who are diving in, right?
I would push that, Deb.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that, we want to, if the watch parties are certainly localized. But I'm hoping that we have the ability to, at least for them to share with us, through the Facebook community, what's actually happening in their area. We're streaming, the conference to them. I'm hopeful that we're able to get some of that back.
Yeah,
We hope we hear from them. It's hard to control when people don't share information. So we do ask, please share
Yep.
this information so that we know and we can tell people. The NASDAQ Entrepreneur Center alone sent this announcement to over 20,000 of the people on their mailing lists. So people are sharing the message. And I thank you and I applaud you guys in 216 the net for sharing the message. And that's basically what we need, to take the message to the people who haven't gotten it yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be the fun thing to watch and just see how it kind of explodes, is all that neat social media posting and stuff, just seeing the sheer numbers. And that's what, in today's world, that's what drives believability. And for your next one, your EuroX and things like that. I think that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, well, that's folks believing in the impact, right?
Well, you did talk about today. So today is a special day. Today's Cinco de Mayo. And
yes.
I wanted to talk a little bit about Cinco de Mayo, because when we think about, so what is the significance of that, right? So when we think about our own history, right? So when the colonial army defeated the Redcoats, right, for the first time, that was a very significant accomplishment, because we know what? George Washington and the crew said, what? We got this. We can do this, right? They're called what? The ragtag army, right? So when the Mexicans first defeated the European army, right, they got the same message. Hey, we can do this. Was it easy? No, right? So the Redcoats actually laid siege to the White House, right? Was it easy? No. It was blood, sweat, and tears, right? Was it easy for the Mexicans? No, it wasn't. So if you really want to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, of course, the beer will help. But think about, is it easy to become an entrepreneur? No, it is not. It's not easy. It takes a lot of hard work. But we're there for you, right? So celebrate Cinco de Mayo by deciding or making the commitment to yourself. I will become an entrepreneur or a better entrepreneur. Come join us. Celebrate Cinco de Mayo by looking forward to your accomplishment and your next big success. So that's the best way, and that's how I think we should celebrate Cinco de Mayo. Accomplish something.
Accomplish something.
I'll add that to the list.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you talk about, the entrepreneurship is a journey. And one of the things that we did, actually one of our roundtables, the NABO Chicago roundtable, NABO, National Association of Women Business Owners, we did a roundtable discussion with their president, the Young Entrepreneur of the Year award winner, and the Businesswoman of the Year award winner. And we did a roundtable discussion on the roller coaster of entrepreneurship and the fact that it is exactly that. It is, you're approaching the ticket booth of entrepreneurship. You're going to buy your ticket and you're going to get on the ride. Maybe some of you are coming because you have to, and others are because you want to, back to the earlier point. But you're going on this ride where you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have velocity, speed and slower times. And we had this really interesting conversation about, and I found the conversation fascinating to hear people share, these women share their spark of entrepreneurship. What was it that drove them to do what they do, become a business owner? And they shared their stories. And this isn't one of the roundtables. So that's going to be a lot of fun for people to watch. What was the spark? How did they get over the fear? Because, you're upside down and you're moving at, the velocity of the speed. And
it's not a 3-minute ride either.
Not,
right?
And it goes on forever. And it's like, is this ever going to end, kind of a thing. But then you flip back, right side back up, and it slows down. And so, hearing these women share that journey of what was the spark, how they got over the fear, at what point were they, feeling good enough about the journey that they could put their hands in the air and, scream with joy and glee. And then what's next for them? So they've been on the journey. They've overcome the fear. They're enjoying the ride, and now they're thinking about what's next. And so hearing those personal stories and having them share that, I think is going to be very compelling for our audience.
Oh, and I think people are going to learn that there's no cookie cutter way.
No.
You can sit there and talk about all the aspects and pieces of building a business. Okay, that can be pretty clear cut. But for every person who's done this, it's for a different reason. They have a different and compelling story, each and every one. And I'm so looking forward to hearing those stories because I know they're incredible stories because we've heard some of them. You have heard more of them, and I'm looking forward to hearing from all of them because it's so important because there's so much more to just the cookie cutter. Here's how you start a business. Here's what you do for branding, marketing, sales, that yada, 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 and go through the motions and the steps. There's much, much more to it than that. Those are the mundane things that you do in building a business, right? As opposed to what really drives you.
Right.
You have a purpose, you've got a belief, you've got hope. These are all things that we have consciously put into this conference and other work that we do. Is we say we do want to give hope, we want to give purpose, we want to incentivize people to go out there and share their gifts, share what they have, because within everyone there's an opportunity for somebody to be great.
Absolutely. It's interesting too that, I always like to say that there's a lot to be learned by listening to the experts talk on their topics, and that's a beautiful thing. And we're very grateful for those that are contributing. But there's as much to learn from others who are attending and who are on their own journeys and their willingness to share their own journeys. So you're learning from the experts on a specific business topic, and that's great. But you're also learning from people that are following or part of that same community, because everybody has their own story and their stories are different and they have their lessons that they've learned. So it just enhances the learning. It becomes a learning community. And that's what I love about, what we're doing here is, these experts are sharing, they're talking, they're presenting, they're teaching with online courses, but the people that are participating, the participants, the students are learning from each other as well. So that is something that makes me happy to know that we can provide access like that.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment because you said something very meaningful here. You talked about hope. And I wanted to kind of emphasize the importance of hope. Within a few days, a lot of people are talking about the coronation of King Charles, right? May 6th. But May 8th is a very significant day, right? The end of the war in Europe. And when you think about hope, imagine those people on a boat when they arrived on Ellis Island and they saw Lady Liberty. This is the essence of America, hope and opportunity. And this is exactly what we want to take to the rest of the world, hope and opportunity. Wherever they are, this is America. This is our
it can be available where you are. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be available where you are.
Mm-hmm.
We will bring that to you. We'll help you become successful. We'll help you, become wealthy. We'll help you become the entrepreneur of the year if we can. We're planning a pitch competition, by the way, for the European version. We'll help them get out in front of a crowd of people and talk their hearts out. But this is what I think we do best. And this essence of the US of hope and opportunity, that's our greatness. We're going to take this greatness and share it with everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that's why we have so many people coming from other parts of the world that we didn't even anticipate or expect, quite frankly, because of that.
We weren't even looking to reach out to at this point in time. That was in the back of the minds going forward as a potential opportunity. But did we not say early on, it's like, boy, if we hit a chord, we have truly struck a chord for a need that is global, clearly global, instantly. It's the starvation. You talked, Ram, about, businesses are made up of people. I would argue that many businesses have forgotten that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And that has been a big part of the problem, because the pandemic really brought this out. Because then people got a taste of, oh, I don't have to go into the office anymore, and I can do this here at home. They start distancing themselves from that mentality of sitting at the cubicle every day and banging out their work, to now their minds are starting to say, boy, I can do other things. I'm not so strapped down and locked in. And we still have the corporate dinosaurs that are still out there saying, this is the way it's done. This is the way it's always been done. This is the way it's always going to be done. And if you want to climb the ladder, there's one ladder.
Yeah.
And you, which is, when you think about it, it's kind of ridiculous, because if there's one ladder to climb up, how many people within your organization are fighting each other?
That's it.
And how is that productive? It can't be, and it's not a healthy environment.
It's not, it's interesting too, because the pandemic certainly opened up, I think, opportunities for a lot of people. And then you look at what's happening with access to information online, which is, and online learning, and the market size growing $200 billion in the next 5 years. So that tells you a lot. It tells you people are, they're willing to step out and start their own businesses, probably more so now than ever, because there's such an access of information and education to tap into. And that's why online learning, that market is booming, because of access to education. So it gives you the knowledge that you need to, maybe make a decision for yourself that said, I'm going to go do that for myself. I'm not going to go follow, the one path that's available to me at my job. I'm going to surround myself. I'm going to educate myself, because, and then of course they have to have the ability, they have to believe in themselves as well.
Key word, that's my favorite word. We are down to our last 3 minutes here, but believe is the, I think if you look at building a business, so much like you would look at cooking up a recipe, let's say for a dinner, I would say the main number one ingredient that can't be taken out is belief. That is the most important ingredient, I think, of all. But that's something we'll save for closing statements on the conference.
Well, if you can, again, I'm sharing out online here, the website that people can go to, right? So if you can let us know, what are the dates? Where can they go to sign up, register if they haven't? How do they become part of this incredible, groundbreaking, historic event?
So it's vclatinx.com, and the conference will take place between May 23rd and the 26th. So just a few days away, a couple of weeks away. So if you go to the website, the registration is free, and of course, you get to your CEU credit hours for free as well. So continued education credits are available, free as well. So if you need to get your CEUs done for the year, come and join us, and we would love to have you.
I think that's awesome. It's literally something you want to be part of, because it's momentous to world history. Honestly.
Well, we hope a lot of people feel that way. That's awfully kind of you to build this up so big. I mean, I know that Deb and Ram and I think myself, I don't want to speak necessarily for them, but this is a labor of love, and it's in the aspect of how momentous, how historic, or how financially, rewards could be for us and others. That's not part of the equation.
Yeah.
It just isn't.
Yeah, I love it.
It's not the driving factor.
Right.
But thank you. I mean, if you want to continue to say historic and momentous, we'll take that.
We'll take that.
Okay. And time will tell, right? That's it.
Am I right, guys? I mean,
Absolutely.
you're willing to accept that?
Absolutely.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
All right, we've got 1 minute left. Any special thing either one of you would like to showcase, bring up?
Would really welcome everybody to join us and attend. I think there's something here for everybody. I know, and we're just very delighted and grateful and thankful to our contributors, who are many and in many different areas of business, entrepreneurship, leadership, finance, marketing, sales, operations, process, strategy. There's something here for everyone. And
how do we find Facebook? How do we find you on Facebook?
Facebook is the VC LatinX Conference, is the Facebook community. So please come and join us, and that's a great way to stay in touch with what we're doing and all the updates.
Yeah, and that'll also, I'm sure there's a link into there to sign up, because again, the conference is free to attend. It's free to listen to any and all 60 plus speakers of amazing status worldwide, and I guarantee you'll walk away learning quite a bit.
I think so.
You won't be, you can't help it.
Yes.
All right. Hey, Provis here at 216 Net. We can't thank you enough for getting caught in the net with us. And if you have questions, just run out there. There's Uncle Pete saying it right there. Visit VC LatinX 2023 conference. Put it in there, vfairs.com, and you guys are good to go. Hang in there. The rest of the day, good stuff coming up on 21-6. We've got Neighborhood Pulse with Kevin Callback in the know with Steph and Joe, celebrating Cinco de Mayo with a taco throwdown and margarita throwdown. And later tonight, we've got the Dream Home Experts with a brand new show. So
are they doing tacos and margaritas too?
I don't know if they are.
That could be a fun afternoon.
It could be a fun afternoon. Provis here. Thanks for joining us. Be good, but more importantly, until we meet again, be good to one another.
Thank you so much.